The mother is crying. Mother's sad. She lost what she had. Her freedom to go and be and do. Where's my time gone? Where's my energy? Who am I? What have I become? I love you, little shits, but I need to take care of me. To create a new reality, become free. S plus S plus S equals R. The state and the story and the strategy are your reality. Today we talk to Steffani about morning routines and ways to shift your state, to hop on that positive train and turn your story green. So when a cop or doggy or Carl is jumping on your leg, you will have a way, you will be okay. Let's talk about motherhood, what it's like to become a mother, in particular some of the challenges and pains and struggles involved, and of course there are lots of beauties and gifts along the way too. But we're going to focus in on those, and then therefore some ways that becoming a mother kind of forces that woman to change in certain ways, and then let's get into some tools and some ways that we can. Well, not we. I'm not going to become a mother, I don't think, but ways that women can maybe retain or regain some of their, health, happiness, and sanity along that mother journey. And that's sort of like what I'm thinking we're going to talk about today, but who knows? It might go in another even more fun direction. But let's start with this. And yeah, what are some of the changes or struggles or hard parts about becoming a mother?
Ooh, awesome question. I like how you just like ramped into that. It was beautiful. I think some of the hard parts about becoming a mother, and I became a mother later in life, and thank God because I was not ready any sooner than 38 and 40 when I had my son and my daughter, and that's a lot later for a lot of people. I think the changes that I saw was you don't realize when you have kids how much freedom you lose. You lose your freedom to go places, to be with people, to live the way you'd been living, to have like this time freedom and this body freedom and this like, experience freedom. That all changes. And nobody really prepares you for it and talks about it. I mean, you know that you're launching into a completely different life, but you don't realize that you're completely losing that sense of freedom.
Yeah. Would it be different for the father? I guess he loses some freedoms too, but yeah, what would be some differences? Of course, you can't fully speak for the man, but what do you imagine from your experience are some differences between the man's experience and the woman's experience?
I mean, when I had my son, I was sitting down to breastfeed him 10 times a day, and my husband wasn't doing that, you know? So I think there's a difference. I think that we have a lot of gender roles in our society. So, women have to sacrifice because we fall into these gender roles of sacrificing and the men go off to work and the women stay home with the child and do the breastfeeding and do the we women take on the primary parenting role 95% of the time. I haven't done that research, but I'm just guessing that it's that high. And so men do have a lot more of that freedom. And we also are such different creatures, Women are incredibly intuitive, are incredibly nurturing. I think we have a heavier sense of guilt when we do anything for ourselves and, to go grocery shopping and then take an extra 30 minutes to do something for yourself. Like we don't allow ourselves to do that. And I think men have that a little easier because they don't have that dial turned up on the guilt factor of not being home with the child. They're like, I need this for me. And women need to learn how to do that. I'm not saying that these are things that like we have to fall into. I'm saying these are things that we naturally fall into unless we're more conscious of them. And we can change that so that we don't become overwhelmed, so that we don't become resentful of our husbands, so that we don't become ultimately resentful of our kids if we just pour everything into them for, years or decades, as many women do. And then we have no true sense of freedom and no true sense of self after a while.
Okay, so the big challenges were, uh there are other ones too, of course, but 2 of the big ones are 2 or 3 of them are loss of freedom and sense of self and individuality and keeping your time and keeping your energy, some of it to yourself, not giving it all away. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Yeah. Those are powerful. Those are powerful and very normal things that women as moms fall into. Yeah.
And how is there a way to get some of this back, beyond, waiting for the child to become, well, at this point, probably 40 years old or whatever, whenever they
Yeah.
move out?
40 at a good age, 40. Yeah.
You get solid 45.
Yeah. I was living at home until like 23, I think something like that is pretty typical. Um, yeah, so what I realized was that I tried to just, like, outdo it all. I tried to do all the things, like, I'll plan the play dates with the other moms, and I'll fill my schedule with those things that I thought I used to have that freedom, and I'll just bring the kid everywhere, I'll go to movies again, I'll go out with my friends, and I'll just carry the kid along. I tried to do it, and I've been doing personal growth work and inside work for almost 30 years now. And what I didn't realize was that I needed to really reverse engineer it. And I needed to stop focusing on doing and on my actions. And I needed to focus on my state. And by state, I mean like how I feel every morning, how I felt then as a mom with young babies. How did I feel? And what did I need to do to feel good? So for me, that came down to like my morning routine. Like, what did I need to do? And I'm not going to tell anybody I'm not like a morning routine guru that's like, you need to do this for 20 minutes. You need to journal and you need to work out and you need to, you need to get up 90 minutes before your kids do so that you can have like there's no one size fits all. There's no recipe for this. It's how do I want to feel and what do I need to do in the morning to feel that way? Right? And for me that changed all the time. It changed when I had a baby, when I had an infant, when I had a toddler, it changed when I had young kids, it changed now that I have 2 teenagers in the house. It's different, it's ever flowing. There's not this one size fits all routine. But I have my morning non-negotiables, those things that fill me up. And mine look like gratitude. They look like this journal that I do, this Soul Happy Daily Planner that I created that I do myself because it's like checking in with myself and looking at some positive things and things that I'm grateful for. It's drinking a glass of lemon water before my coffee because that fuels my body. It's opening the door and getting outside and seeing some sunlight and taking a couple of fresh, deep breaths. All those things take very little time, but those things fill me up. So imagine like, and then if I, get the kids out of the house or if I go to my workout and I haven't done any of those things, I might be stressed. If I wake up and grab my phone and scroll social media or God forbid, look at the news and I'm heading to my workout and I get pulled over by a policeman, I'm gonna be, like, in the most frantic state. I'm gonna be like, "Oh my god." First of all, I didn't do anything for myself. I probably woke up and just had caffeine while I scrolled and got really anxious, and then I get pulled over. If I did all those things, those simple things, did gratitude, did my daily planner, step outside and took some deep breaths, had my lemon water, and then I get pulled over by a cop, I might go, I'm so sorry. What's going on? What did I do? What happened? He's going to meet a different person because I primed myself and my state was in the right place. So I'm glad that I quickly learned when I had these babies at home that my state matters and that I need to do some things to make my state in a good place. And that might even be asking my husband to help with some things so that my state's in a good place. That might be I teach women to look at what's ideal for now. So not an ideal morning routine that's like I wake up to the sound of birds chirping and, the windows open and there's a breeze and I meditate for 20 minutes and nobody bothers me. It's like when you have kids at home, all that goes out the window. Even if there's teenagers or babies or anything, it is unpredictable. You need to be flexible on it and you need to make sure that you do the things that feel really good. But that's ideal for now, for the age your kids are, for the lifestyle that you have, for the season of weather that you have outside. All of those things have to come into place. But essentially, what I realized was that I could reverse engineer and create a different reality, not by taking action only, but by focusing on my state first. So, how I feel, then on my story next. So, what I think, all the things that I think have to be aligned with what I want, not what I don't want. Like, I noticed right away that if I thought about how little sleep I had and how tired I was, that's just who I became. If I focused on how much sleep I got and how good that sleep was and how well my kids were sleeping and how well it's like you're speaking things into creation. So I can either speak into creation my lack of sleep and my exhaustedness, or I can speak into creation my sleep and my energy and my well-being. So I have this formula now called S plus S plus S equals R. So to create a new reality, S is the first S is your state. The second S is plus your story. The third S is your strategy or the actions that you take that creates your reality. So if my reality as a mom is like frantic and hectic, I can't just take different action. I have to put my state and my story first. So if you think of those three things, the S plus S plus S equals R, you can reverse engineer it and create a different reality. Pretty simple by just focusing on some small changes to your state and how you feel, your morning routine, to your thoughts and what you give energy, attention, and focus to, and then the action steps that you take. And pretty soon, your life will be unrecognizable from where it was before.
Okay, and are these S's in this kind of sequential order, like focus on your state first and then your story and then your strategy?
Yes. Because if you put the strategy first, which is what I used to do, like before I was getting married, I was trying to lose weight, right? I was just like, I'm going to lose 8 pounds before my wedding day. And I was trying all the things. I was like eating less and I was working out really hard and I was doing all, but I wasn't at all focused. This is decades ago. I've been with my husband for 29 years. And this was so long ago. It was before I was focusing on my state and my story. So I was taking all the action. And guess what? I wasn't losing weight. I was gaining weight because I was in such a overwhelmed and frantic place, right? So your action alone, if your state and your story aren't aligned, the action is not going to get you where you want. It's going to keep you where you are. If you're still in a messy state and focusing on, all I was focusing on was I was telling everyone that would listen, I can't lose a pound to save my life. I am actually gaining weight. Like it's defying science. Like I don't know how I'm possibly, and I was speaking it into existence. And it hit me and I thought, what am I doing? Like I know that energy, attention, and focus creates. So why am I talking about this so much? Why am I creating this? And I reverse engineered it and I got in a better state and I felt better and I started eating more and I started working out less and it all started working. And I used to say, I'm building muscle and burning fat. I'm building muscle and burning fat. And I was, because that was my new mantra. That was my new focus. And I started creating it. So yes, we can't just take action on something. We have to have our state and our story aligned with it. And then the action steps will work.
Right, and each of these pieces kind of connect with and influence one another. Like, say if I wanted to change my story, but my state was in a, not a good place, the story would naturally change whether I like it or not. So, yeah, we like to believe that we have complete control over, our thoughts and our actions and our story, our strategy, our life. But you might say we have a lot more than I would probably say. I'm a bit more of like a not fully on board with all this manifesting stuff, but I think there's a lot of good benefits to it, and it at least brings us in the right direction. It makes our life better. Maybe it doesn't make your life perfect, but it makes it better. But my question is, what is like the connection between the state and the story? How does changing your state naturally change your story.
Yeah, they're so interconnected, right? So if you're in a really good feeling place and you're just having a great day, and then something comes your way, you might be a little more open to seeing it on the bright side. Like, oh, that'll work out. Oh, somebody stole my parking lot spot. Well, I'm fine. I'll find another one. Right. So our state and our story are our state and our thoughts, let's even call it that, right? Our feelings and our thoughts are very interconnected. If we're feeling really good, we're more likely to have good feeling thoughts, and vice versa. If we're feeling really bad, and we're a victim of life circumstances and we're having a really bad day, and then someone takes our parking spot, oh, there we go again, another jerk out on the road. Our thoughts can spiral out of control along with it. So they're so interconnected. Now, can our state and how we feel change our thoughts? Yes. Can our thoughts change how we feel? Yes. It goes both ways, right? Because I can start thinking, you know what if it all works out? What if it all works out? Maybe, the sun is shining. I'm feeling really healthy lately. I've got some fun plans tonight. Maybe this is going to be a good day. I can think myself into feeling good, and I can feel myself into thinking good. They're kind of like a switch. They go both ways. And I like to think about our thoughts as like getting on a train. And if you start thinking things that don't serve you, like my example earlier, like, I'm so exhausted, I haven't been sleeping enough. Like, this is a common thing. Every mom in the world has talked to all of her mom friends about her lack of sleep and how tired she is. And when you get on that train, it takes you to tired town. Like, you're just gonna be overwhelmed and tired. No matter how much sleep you're getting, you're gonna feel that way. Your thoughts are gonna create that feeling, and it's probably going to interrupt your sleep, and when you lay down to go to sleep, you're probably gonna be like, "Oh my god, I can never fall asleep easy." We can think ourselves into insomnia. We literally can. And so the thoughts take you on a train that you don't wanna go to, so we have to learn how to jump trains. Like, how can I get off of that train of thought and get onto this train of thought? This train of thought might be equally as true. Like, I got a good amount of sleep last night. My child is taking better naps and I'm napping when they nap. I think I've had a couple solid chunks and I'm feeling a little bit better. Equally true thoughts. This train takes us to no sleep town, and this train takes us to potentially better sleep town. So it's just like, which train do you want to get on? And then the work becomes jumping trains, going from the negative thoughts and negative feelings that take us where we don't want to go to the positive thoughts and positive feelings that could potentially create a better day and therefore a better week and better years and a better life experience.
Yeah, but jumping those trains is the hard part. So how do you jump those trains? I mean, yeah, you talked about the morning routine, and you talked about thinking positive thoughts and focusing on the good things. But like, I guess I'm worried that might not be enough for everybody, especially the people who are really struggling.
I have lots of tools. So, first things first, you have to have awareness. Awareness is the master discipline. So, you have to know that you're on the wrong train, and you have to have awareness that you want to jump trains. And sometimes we just want to ride that train. That's fine. If I want to go to a pity party negative place and be very cranky and sleepy, I can keep riding it. Like, I have free will. Some days I want to do that. I do that. But after a while, if it's not serving me, if I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, then I need to bring awareness into the equation. And I need to go, oh, I'm aware of these thoughts. I'm aware that I'm on a train that I don't want to be on. So that's step one. You have to have awareness. And step two, you have to use one tool. I could share dozens of tools with you. I'll share a few. You have to have one tool to help you shift trains. So gratitude is a tool to help you jump trains. So what am I grateful for? Just thinking about what you're grateful for will stop that train of thought. At least you're not talking about how tired you are. And now you're thinking about what you're grateful for. Oh, I'm grateful that I have plans this weekend. I'm grateful that I'm feeling so good. I'm grateful that summertime is on its way. Oh, I'm really grateful that my husband came home early from work tonight and we're going to have dinner together. Now I'm not on that train anymore. I don't have to switch from like, I get terrible sleep to I get great sleep. Like, that's BS, right? It's hard to jump from that train to that train. We can't jump from the negative train to the positive train. So let's just jump to a neutral train, which is what am I grateful for? Or we can jump to a what do I want? Okay, so these are all things that I don't want. And this train is taking me to no sleep town. What do I want? Oh, I want really deep, luxurious sleep. I want to feel really rested. I want to feel really like wanting is okay. Wanting is getting me off that train and onto a train of more desire, of something that's more of possibility, of placing an order, like a prayer to the universe, like, give me more of this, please. It's more direction, it's more directional. Like, if every thought places an order and I'm placing an order for no sleep, why don't I think of what I do want and place some orders for sleep? Let's just try that on for size, right? So, moving to gratitude, shifting into gratitude, thinking about what you do want, moving your physical body, like getting outside in nature. If you're on this no sleep train and you don't want to be, and you try and do a cartwheel, I guarantee you're going to fall to the ground and be laughing and maybe bump your elbow, and you will not be on that train anymore. You'll be on a different train, like laughing at yourself and thinking you're silly or hurting your sore elbow. Who knows? But moving your physical body in any way, getting in a cold shower, going out in nature, doing some push ups, getting on a call with a friend, like turning on a podcast, just podcast therapy, like changes the train because I'm thinking and I'm getting frustrated and I'm riding the train and the train's picking up speed. And then I put on some podcast therapy and at least I'm going, oh, I'm in a different world. I'm totally not focused on that anymore. I'm focused on something totally else, so totally different. So, especially people that are anxious, like when we consume our mind with something else, it helps us get off that train. And the other thing is I teach all my clients to create a cancel process. So it's an actual practical, wonderful tool to create a cancel process. Like the minute I have awareness around the thought that I'm not getting enough sleep, I'm going to cancel it. I'm going to use a cancel phrase. Let's call it like erase, replace, or control, alt, delete, or stop, cancel, clear, get out of here. You can create whatever cancel process works for you because you want it to like roll off your tongue. You want it to be very natural to you. Like we're not robotic. We're not using affirmations like I love my sleep and I am sleeping well. No, like erase, replace. What do I want? Cancel, clear. All the sleep I need, I have right here. Like, what is a cancel process that works for you? I've taught it to women from all over the world, and women have really unique ideas. This one talks to her thoughts like it's a writer's room. And she's like, stop. No, don't like where that's going. Rewrite. Stop, clear, rewrite. Another woman just swears at herself, I mean, whatever you need to do, create a cancel process, cancel that thought, and switch it to something else. That's like 5 different tools of how we can jump trains.
There is also some benefit to, I don't know, embracing these negative emotions, or sometimes they're there for a reason. But I think you're not focusing on these extreme examples of, like you lost your job and your mom died and all these kinds of things, or there is a serious problem that you need to address and you can address, but just give it some time. But it's more like these like constant negative thought habits that just keep running and running, and like they're not bringing you anywhere. So yeah, maybe you could talk about some of the benefits of sometimes embracing some of this negativity, and when we know this negativity is not serving us, and then when it maybe we can recognize, yeah, maybe it's okay to feel this way right now, and when it's not.
I mean, I always teach women to feel all their feelings. We go through so many challenges in life. My daughter plays travel volleyball and her coach just passed away. And it was really devastating to these girls. They've spent 5 days a week with this coach. They're very, very close to them. For most of them, it's the closest person in their life who died. And so we feel it all. I had the girls over here to my house multiple times. They were playing in a tournament just a few days later, and we had to get together and process it and feel it all. And like all feelings are welcome here. And it's hard. I kept saying to them, it's really, really hard. Gosh, you're incredibly resilient, and I'm so proud of you. And it's really hard. And all of your feelings are okay. And it's gonna keep coming in waves. And you might not be okay right now, and that's okay too. Like, yes, our feelings are all valid. And I think it's important to note that. And like, if we're returning to the like, I'm not getting enough sleep thing, We can feel it. We can be sad about it. We can like ask for help. Yes, all of that serves a purpose. But when it's perpetuated and we realize that it is now running the show and it's something that I am now creating in my life because I'm fueling it with energy, attention, focus, and complaining, then when I'm ready, when I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired and I want to stop it, that's when some of these tools come into place.
You mentioned complaining, and complaining might be kind of a good little window into, maybe here there's something here that we can change. Talk about complaining, maybe why we do it, but more importantly, how we can get rid of it and what are the benefits of perhaps getting rid of it as much as we can.
I think it's really, really socially acceptable to complain. And so we do it to fit in. We do it because it's socially acceptable. We do it because we don't know how to not complain. Like I stood around the soccer field of moms, and this this is just years ago when my kids were like preteens, and all they did was talk about how they didn't sleep, what the workload they had, how bad the soccer program was. All they did was complain. It was like I was even too scared to interject like anything positive because I would have been looked at like an alien. And I realized this. I was talking to an old boss of mine and he was divorced and it was Christmas time and he had to go home and put up like the Christmas lights on his ex-wife's house and on his new house and he was like complaining about it. Oh, I got to do all the Christmas ornaments. And as I kept asking him, "Oh, what kind of lights do you do and what do they look like?" And what it was like his greatest joy. He loved it so much and that's why he still did it on his ex-wife's house, but he couldn't say, I'm going home to do something I love so much. I love putting up Christmas lights. It's like my favorite thing in the world, and I love this season because we don't feel that comfortable sharing our joys. It was more comfortable for him to complain about it to me in order to tell me about it than to brag about it or enjoy it. And so, I mean, I'm on a mission to change that and to help women to share what they love, to talk about our wins, to talk about what's good, to be more positive. We are hardwired to go negative, and society just socially accepts that we're going to complain. So once we know that we're going to go to complaining before we're going to go to positive things. So once we know that, now what? Like how can I approach the social scene at the soccer field and be the one to ask what's going well and to share something that we're happy about and what we're excited about. So what's going on in your life lately? What are you excited about? Do you have any fun trips coming up? Oh, how was that, thing that you attended the other night? Was that great? Like we have to change the subject and we have to pick it up. We don't have to like be like, I'm not going to listen to you guys complain because then we're complaining. But I realized when I used to work at a health club, I was like the outlier, the non-complainer. And literally these other fitness department heads, I used to run the aquatics department and all the kids areas. The other fitness department heads like had a intervention with me and they were like, "We need you on board with our complaints. We need you on board like we are complaining and we need you to come and join." And I was like, "Not going to happen. I'm going to focus on what's good. I'm going to focus on the good." Employees would come into my office and they could voice an experience. And we can pose anything that is a complaint as a fact. Like if the waiter brings me a bad meal, it's overcooked, I can say, "I'm sorry, this is overcooked and it's not what I expected. Do you mind trying to remake it for me?" And that's not a complaint. That's a factual thing. I'm stating the facts, right? I'm being observant and I'm stating the facts. A complaint is with like exaggerated emotion. "Why did you guys give this to me like this? This is ridiculous. Where's the manager? I paid too much." That's a complaint, right? We can even say in the group of moms at soccer, "I've been having a really hard time at home getting not enough sleep. And you know what my plan is? I've got a new sleep stack of supplements that I'm really excited to take. And tonight I am going to sleep so well." See, that's different than complaining. So once we have awareness around our complaints, there's ways to state things that aren't complaints and we can still get our needs met. We're not like walking around like never speaking our mind or anything. But with most of the women in my groups, one of the first things we do is a complaint-free challenge. And we wear a bracelet on our wrist, on our right wrist, and we observe our complaints for a day. And if we complain, we move it to our left wrist. It's just beautiful awareness. And then you go the next morning, you move it on your right wrist, and you see how many days in a row you can go without complaining. I'm a very complaint free person, and it's hard for me to go a couple days without stating a complaint. So I've been doing this work for a long time and it's still hard. So we do these rounds with the women that I coach in my inner circle all the time because we still need to reset to try and be no more positive. I just don't think that complaints serve us in any way. We can state things and still get our needs met without complaints. I think complaints just make us feel, and those feelings place orders and get us on trains that don't serve us. So I can still stand up to something. I can go to my son's school and say, "Hey, he has an IEP and his accommodations haven't been met. And I want to know what you guys have in place in order to make sure that his accommodations are met." That's not a complaint, right? I'm still standing up for myself and I'm still voicing something articulately and purposefully, but without a lot of exaggerated feelings that makes it a complaint. And so when we start rewiring that, we start living in a lot more peace. I find a lot more peace when I'm not complaining. And when I'm challenging people to like be more, call it positive, or be more in their joy about what they're excited about with their life. I want to hear the good things, not only the bad things. I'm here to hear the bad thing. Like, I'm here to support my friends. They know they can call me and say, "Okay, my husband and I just got deep into it and I need a place to land." I'm like, "Bring it." And then let's focus on a solution. Let's get you where you want to be. We're not just going to wallow in it because that's not going to serve us. That's getting on a train that takes us somewhere that we don't want to be.
Right, right, and the complaints kind of fuel that train and keep that story going. Yeah, I really like this idea of moving from the positive train to the neutral train, or the complaints to the facts, and then to the positivity. That seems much more doable to me. Sometimes you can kinda jump straight to the positive, but it's a bit harder. Like, I'm thinking today, there's this little dog that I have, and it will, in the morning, jump up on my legs. It's tiny, it doesn't hurt, but just kind of, it's very eager to see me, and I can't move. It's like a ball and chain. It's just, like, clinging to my leg, and I get, like, annoyed by it, like, "Get off, not now, enough, too much," you know? I get annoyed by it, and then, but then it's very easy to look at that and be like, "Oh, well, she loves me. She's happy to see me. She wants to communicate, and this is her way of communicating, and, this touch is good, and I getting my oxytocin in the morning, and da da da." But instead I'm like, get away." Not always, but when I'm tired and not rested, for example. But then there's other times when I do see it as a positive thing, and I can very quickly, that's an example of taking a negative, and I can quickly turn it into an actual positive. And then there's, like, maybe you're at work and someone throws a pile of papers on your desk when you don't want it, and like, "Hey, can you do this thing for me?" You could be like, start complaining and getting pissed off and be like, "Oh God." Or you could be like, "Oh, they trust me with this work, and they think I'm the best person for this, and they don't think they could do it, but they know I can do it," or I don't know. That might be harder because people start, taking advantage of people sometimes. But, the dog or something, there's all these examples at work, at home. What maybe you can comment, any ideas you have right now that are popping up as I'm talking, or, if not, then some common negative things that parents experience that can quickly be turned into a positive.
See, both those examples you gave are so good because your state predicts how you'll handle that. Like when you're tired and the dog does that, you're like, "Stop, stop, get away from me, leave me alone." When you're in a good place, you might be like, "Come on, you little nugget," and like be playful. When you're at work and you've got your perfect cup of coffee and you had an easy transition into work and you did something in the morning. Let's say you had a hard workout and you had your favorite cup of coffee and you sat there and someone dumped a bunch of workload on you. You were like, "Bring it on, Carl. I got this. Let's go." Right? You'd be playful and fun. So your state matters. And just like you said with the dog, you can shift it in a moment. Like you can decide that anytime this dog jumps on you, it's going to trigger, instead of aggravation and frustration, which is totally justified. Like, no one's wrong in that. The nails are kind of scratching at your leg and the dog's kind of annoying, justifiable. But does it get you into the place that you want to be? Does it feel good to be annoyed at the little dog? If it does, keep doing it. If it doesn't, you can use it to trigger something else. You can go, when that dog's nails touch my leg, I am going to shift into gratitude. And I'm going to think about all the things I'm grateful for about this dog, about where I live, about the clothes on my body, about the health of my body, about the friends in my life. I'm going to shift into gratitude. Like, I was teaching a retreat one time, and we were in Michigan at this beautiful lake house, and there was a train that would go by, and we loved sitting outside to do our work. But the train would come by and it was really loud, and it would trigger one of the women more than all of us. She'd be like, "Oh my God, we were just at it." And she would get so mad. And I said, "Hey, listen, if that train comes by again, when that train comes by, we are going to stop and close our eyes and feel a rush of gratitude, like we are shifting trains, like that train that's taking us to our dream town is here and we are jumping up." So we used it for good. We can decide what things can trigger negative or positive things because we decide that we do. Like that beautiful example that you had, like when Carl puts all the papers on the table, you can be like, they trust me with this. I'm really badass at this. I'm really good. I contribute to this job in a big way, and this work is really fulfilling. We can do that. We are the director and producer and writer of this hard drive, and we can decide that. But it takes some conscious awareness and some openness to do it, right? But usually when you plant the seed, people start to see it growing and they're like, "Oh, this actually, why wouldn't I do that? It actually feels better. I'll have a better day. I'll have a slightly better day. I'll feel a little more empowered. I'll feel a little better about myself. I'll have brought my better self to work today. And that's all I want to do. I want to leave thinking that I had a good experience." So maybe I will try that next time.
I just had an idea and I lost it. That's fine now. It's a good one. Sometimes you get the good ones, you're like, "Ooh, wow," and you wanna get it back, but,
Yeah. Was it about the train, about the retreat, about the lady at the retreat? No? I'm trying
I
to
don't know.
help you.
It's gone,
Okay.
it's fine. But
It'll come back.
sometimes you get stuck on the idea and you're like, "I wanna," and it that kinda connects to other things too, like, sometimes you can't control your reality. You would like to say that you're the driver of this train and the brain is yours and it can do anything. It's an all-powerful God or whatever. But sometimes you're in this sort of system or whatever. There's this structure in place outside of yourself, and you're being influenced by the world and your money and the other people in it and stuff. There's all these other factors that you can't seemingly control. You can kind of halfway control your perception of it, but you can't control the actual ever-changing world out there. So, what do we do about that?
Yeah, well, coaches are gonna die, and schools are gonna not provide the accommodations for the IEP, and, you're still gonna get pulled over by the cops every once in a while. Like, things are gonna happen, yes. There are things in your control, and there are things outside of your control, right? I'm not in control of every teacher at school and all the administrators. I'm not in control of Zoe's coach dying or not. I'm not in control of a police pulling me over. What I am in control of is what I think and say and do about it. It's how I respond to it. I'm in control of my state. I'm in control of my story. I'm in control of my actions. And so if my state is in the right place and my thoughts, I am in control of my thoughts, then I can respond to any outside challenge that comes my way. I can respond with my best self in the moment. My best self in the moment. It might not be perfect. I'm not like the Dalai Lama or Mother Teresa. I'm not going to just like own my way out of everything, but I'm going to respond with my best self in the moment if my state and my story are aligned. If they're not, all bets are off. And I'll usually go into what I call the red zone, and I'll freak out and I'll be mad and I'll be angry and I'll be explosive. And then my reaction will trump their reaction and it'll be a bigger problem. And I still do that. Like, we all do that. But I look at, how can I recognize the red zone? Because this is what I'm in control of. I'm not in control of the traffic or the school or the administration or anything. What I am in control of is myself. So, how can I recognize this red reaction and bring it down to the yellow and bring it back down to the green. Because in the green zone, I call it, is where magic and miracles happen. In the green zone is when I'm showing up as my best self. In the red zone, nothing good happens. I only embarrass myself. I only create more problems. And so in the red zone, when a challenge presents itself, I should stop and not do anything. I should not keep talking. I should not send the text. I should not send the email. I should not call people on the phone. I should stop until I've come back into the green zone. And from the green zone, I should start taking action. But I went off on a tangent because you were saying there are things outside of our control. Yes, there's stuff happening in our country and stuff happening at my son's school and stuff happening in our community that I'm not in control of. So I need to come back to the focus that what I can control. I call it these 5 power tools, which is our thoughts, our words, our feelings, our stories, and our actions. Those are all things that we're in control of that I am the director, writer, and producer of. Those 5 things. Those 5 things I can create from. I can't control other people. I can't control the government. I can't control the school. I can't control my husband or my kids. I can only control those 5 things. So I come back to that and I take control of those 5 things. And I use those to my best ability in the moment and hopefully show up as the best I can be in that moment.
And of course, those things will influence us, but I guess doing more of these things that you're teaching us about, we can kind of maybe buffer the influence from them, the negative influence from these things that are out of our control.
And there's not to say that there's no room for anger because I can be angry and be in the green zone. If I am purposeful and articulate about my anger from the green zone, good things can happen. But from the red zone, it's usually I obliterate everything and I, say things that I regret. And it's, speaking a lot more about me than about the other person and the experience. I can still be angry. Things cannot be okay. And I can be purposeful and articulate about it in the green zone. And usually that is a place of power. And a lot of good stuff can come from that.
A minute ago, you mentioned death, and that actually resparked that idea I had a few minutes ago. I think one reason why we get into that red zone or we get onto the negative train or we start complaining or getting angry and all these things is we do kind of take our life for granted and we forget that we're going to die and in particular that this person or this dog is going to die. For example, again, this dog is going to die in the next couple years, and I forget that when it's scratching me. How much would I pay for that scratching experience? In 5 years from now or 10 years from now, or what will the story be like then? I'll be like, oh my god, the dog used to wake me up and just jump on my leg and like a ball and chain. It was amazing. But if I can just remember, oh crap, this dog is dying. You immediately shift to the positive train. Or another example, my brother. He's the person I love the most in the world, but he's been homeless for the past 3 or so years, and he's very very bipolar. And I spent a month with him this past winter. I mean, I was with at my dad's house, and during the daytime I would go over to the park where he's living. But he would get he was not easy, way worse than this dog. More beautiful too in a lot of ways as well. But he would get in these sort of manic, psychotic episodes, and angry and screaming and just really, really tough to be with. And there are reasons why my dad kicked him out. But I also saw his face and saw how much he's suffering. He's skinny. He looks like a dying old man, even though he's just 39 years old. So it was very easy actually for me to not snap back at him or, to take it negatively. I kind of was in a good state the whole time, even though he was sometimes up screaming in my face and screaming at the sky, and I don't know, just full of pain and anger and suffering. But I just sort of was there. I just paused and was there and listening. But it was easy. But my trick there and my point there was it's like I literally like saw him as, oh, this might be my last time together with him. Maybe this is it, and this is his dying outburst. So okay, cool. So you change that story, which might be a reality actually, and then you can easily shift to the good train, and you can shift to the green, and you can stop complaining and stop getting angry yourself, or whatever. So my point here is, yeah, just remembering that we're going to die, but in particular that all of these apparently negative things out there are also these dying creatures. Really, really kind of can quickly shift you into the green, or onto that good train, or at least neutralize things at the very least.
Yeah, that's such beautiful radical acceptance. I think radical acceptance is one of the most powerful life principles we can hold, is just radically accept people as who they are, exactly as they are, radically accept the dog exactly as it is for this little jumper and scratcher, and just love it. Love the dog, love your brother, like radically accept that his life experience, or I call it a soul's journey, his soul's journey has been really, really hard. And we accept that and also keep the boundaries that we need, like your dad did. I mean, we have a lot of addiction in our family, and I hear you. We've dealt with a lot of addicts, and you can't just like keep allowing them back into your life and into your space, and it's really hard. So balancing radically accepting who they are with the boundaries that you need to keep you safe and sane is a really tricky balancing act. But it's beautiful to fall on the side of radical acceptance because it brings us so present to life, so present to death. I like thinking about death because I like thinking that I don't know how many days I have left, and how can I take advantage of this? How can I be grateful for this present moment, not knowing that my kids are going to be here every day of the rest of my life? I don't know that. I have plenty of friends who have lost children. I don't know that my husband's always going to be here. I have plenty of people who have lost their husbands. I lost my sister when I was 11. She was 18. She died in a car accident. So I met death really young in life and learned that it could come at any time for anyone. And so this, stoic philosophy of memento mori, which is like live as if you're about to die, is true because we never know. And you beautifully stated how it can bring us back to the present moment and just help us to radically accept the moment, the person, and ourselves all in one moment of whoosh. And it can just bring us back to that beautiful place. That's really powerful.
There are also real events from our past, in our memory, especially from our youth, that really kind of control us. You were really young when your sister died. That must have been hardwired into your brain. And then your dad was, an alcoholic, and there was more. You had a certain story about all of these things for a while, I guess, and as you should have, I guess, as well. But how has that story changed, or how has the way you looked at these some of these tough events from your adolescence changed as you've been changing along this journey of S plus S plus S equals R and all that?
I mean, I think we make a choice, how we're going to live our life and what we want to experience. And for me, for decades, my dad was an alcoholic and left our family. And then my sister died in a car accident. And for decades after that, I thought, I'm just going to throw my life away like my dad. Like, there's nothing. I am broken and worthless, and, nothing good is ever going to happen to me. Like, so much tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And that's just like, I thought everyone's childhood was like that because that was just my childhood. So I became a teenager and I started throwing my life away and drinking too much and partying way too much and sleeping around. And that was all I knew. And that's all I had a plan for. I didn't think I'd live past 18, past how old my sister was when she died. I never sort of pictured a life past that because no one showed me great examples of that. I didn't see a great example of relationships, of parenting, of having children, none of that. It all just looked like tragedy to me. So at one point I had to make a choice because that train, getting on that train wasn't serving me. It was self-destructive. And I decided I could either go that route and probably not live very long, or I can try and learn about happiness and forgiveness and radical acceptance. And luckily those things presented themselves to me through Oprah Winfrey shows and different books and teachers like Wayne Dyer and Neil Donald Walsh and Pema Chodron and Deepak Chopra. And I just like started taking it on like a full-time job to learn what happiness was and how I could consciously create it, what forgiveness was, what acceptance was, and how I could start shaping my life that way. And it was much more empowering and more hopeful and happier than the alternative. And so I learned from all of these wonderful people, and I started shaping my own coaching practice around my life experience combined with all of theirs, and started teaching other people. I loved to really learn something. I love to learn it and teach it and learn it and teach it and learn it and teach it. And that's how I really, embodied something, was through teaching it to other people. And so I created my coaching business 12 or 13 years ago and have courses and created retreats and created masterminds and things like that because it really helps me walk the talk and live the practice, right? It's still an uphill climb. Like happiness, I wasn't just born a happy kid and had a happy life and now I coach happiness. Quite the opposite. I had a lot of struggles and I had to hike up a mountain of happiness with, cold and wind and all this stuff along the way and try and figure it out. And then comes getting married, or then for me came marrying my dad because my boyfriend at the time was an addict and then he got sober. So I only married him because he got sober. Then comes having kids. It's like you think you got to the top of the mountain and then you get this whole new, onslaught of weather and things. And you realize, oh, geez, there's another peak up there. You have to learn how to have a happy relationship, how to be a happy parent, how to be a happy entrepreneur. It's forever unfolding these twists and turns of our happiness and figuring out what we want, why we want it, how we're going to get it, how we can show up as our best self, how we can come from a place of radical acceptance and be in the green zone and consciously create what we really want to experience in this life. It's a lot of work, but it's incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, and you mentioned Neil Donald Walsh and Oprah Winfrey and some of these other people, which actually it's funny. It came full circle, and I guess you started working with them here and there. Yeah, what were some of the turning points for you? Turning points that kind of shifted you from that state you were in, in your teens to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, what we give our energy, attention, and focus on, we create. So it's not surprising that I've created experiences with Oprah when I've given so much energy, attention, and focus on Oprah. I created experiences with Marianne Williamson. Her book, A Return to Love, first taught me about forgiveness. I didn't understand the concept of forgiveness. And I read her book in like 1992, and I was like, wait a second. I can forgive this girl who was driving the car that killed my sister. I can forgive my sister for dying and leaving my life. I can forgive my dad for being an alcoholic. I can forgive myself for kind of self-destructing for the last couple decades. Whoosh. This is a brand new concept. And I told everyone that would listen that this book by Marianne Williamson was such a life changer. And I stayed on the road of personal growth and I would go to these conferences and then I started volunteering at them because I wanted to be on the inside. I wanted to like really do this work. And I was volunteering at the conference and they whisked me away and they said, "Oh, Steffani, what are you doing? What are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm like a hall monitor." And they said, "Great. Gosh, we really need you. Can you go to the airport and pick up Marianne Williamson?" I was like, "Absolutely." And there I had up in my hotel room, like my book, my dog-eared book of Return to Love with all of the things. And I got in the limo to go pick her up. And I have this book in my backpack and I'm going, it's so incredibly moving and surprising. And yet it's no surprise. I have thought about her and talked about her and poured into this work for so long. And, I played it cool and she got in the car and I was her speaker's assistant for the whole weekend. And I got to introduce her on stage and I got to hang out with her and I got to go in her room and help her with her outfit. And we were doing yoga together one day before her getting on stage. And she knows who I am and I have her cell number in my phone. Like, how does this happen? I don't know. All I know is that what you give energy, attention, and focus on, you can create. I didn't have an intention to work with Marianne Williamson and to like meet her in person and to befriend her. But that happened because I gave it that I fueled it, I guess, in some way. And the same with Neil Donald Walsh, his books, Conversation with God, totally broke me open to understanding life and spirituality in a different way. And I showed up to his conferences and retreats, and he had a group one time called the Group of 1,000. He was trying to get 1,000 people collaboratively to help change the world in some way. And I signed up. I was like, I'm in. I'm in. What do I do? Come to a meeting once a month? Okay, I'm in. And I was a part of that. And full circle, he wrote the foreword for my new book called Soul Assignments that I'm just getting published really next year. And so, yeah, I don't know how to explain. I just know that what you pour energy, attention, and focus into, what you are grateful for, comes back to you.
And now you're on the other side of it. What are some of the powerful stories, or maybe one story of someone who's read your book and it changed their life?
I'm really grateful that I get to hear from people almost every day that have read my book and it's changed their lives because especially as moms, like I have plenty of women who have like repaired their relationship with their husband, stayed together in a relationship when it was falling apart, gotten in the best shape of their lives, created a more abundant mindset and started making more money. One of my favorite clients, my client bestie, she put on her vision board this like incredible green old school helicopter and she's a pilot, a big airline pilot, and she was like, I want to eventually own a helicopter and get my helicopter license and whatever, and she's done that. Women have started businesses and donated tons of money. Like there's all these different things and they don't have to be big huge things. It's like I repaired a relationship that I didn't know I could ever repair. Like, I feel more at peace. I've radically accepted this person in my life. I've got this dog jumping and scratching on my leg and I don't yell at him anymore. Like, that's enough, right? And so I have people say all the time, like, I am happier. I am in the green zone more. I'm much more positive about life. I'm not as frantic. I'm not as scared. I'm not as negative. I'm not drained. I feel really good. And it's repaired a lot of my relationships and it's helped me love my life a lot more. And that to me is everything. That's why I keep doing this work because that's all I'm out for is like that level of transformation, big or small, is incredibly rewarding.
And if people want to learn more or connect with you, where can they go?
Coach with Steph with two F's. Coach with Steph on Instagram, coachwithsteph.com on my website.
Well, thanks, Steph. I appreciate this time together, and I do hope we can stay in touch as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. You're so good at this. You're really easy and so natural for you. I love it. I love this kind of conversation that's just so real. So thanks so much for having me.